China has come out and said this meeting in itself is against the one China policy. Do you think there needs to be more clarity in terms of the policy to be more strategic, that it's less ambiguous, as some members of your caucus want?
I believe it is. I mean, when you think about the three communiques, but you also have to think, here we are, the Reagan Library. Reagan produced the 6 assurances. And if you read through the 6 assurances, this is exactly what we should be doing. If we want to make sure that we foster democracy and peace and make sure we don't get into any type of conflict, people need to sit down. And what China needs to understand is they can't dictate who a Speaker of the House can meet with, maybe with foe or friend. For the same moment that Macron's sitting down with President Xi, I think that's great. I would sit down with President Xi. I think
is that a trip you're thinking Beijing?
I would gladly. I've been there 3 times. I think it's important that we meet together. And one of the things I think that America has failed upon is that we've never spoken with one voice when it comes to China. We've gone from administration to administration. So when I became Speaker, we created this select committee and had 146 Democrats vote for it. You've watched Democrats and Republicans here together. I think that would even foster a stronger relationship with China, because China would understand where our boundaries are. They won't worry about, oh, one party saying something. You've watched in Congress this year, our only movement when we spoke about China, we spoke 100% of members of Congress voted for that resolution against the balloon.
It's the one area, really, of bipartisanship, I'd say.
Well, I think we're getting more, but...
Okay, well, that's, I guess,
83% of every bill we've passed has been bipartisan. So.
I want to ask you about what type of support there would be, though, if there was to be an invasion. If Beijing were to invade, you talked about arms sales here that need to get there quicker, but what would that look like? Just militarily, or would you send American lives?
See, this is a hypothetical question we would never want to get to. So what you're looking at, what we're doing today is, how do we make sure that question never comes to frugality? So what you would learn from Ukraine itself, because if we're looking back on Ukraine in 2015, when I went to the White House to advocate with President Biden to sell javelins, you want deterrent. You want them not to be able to come in. And that's the same thing we're talking now. In those 6 assurances, we provided that we would continue to fund weapons to Taiwan. Well, what we should do is speed up that process, that they can defend themselves so you don't have conflict, you don't have war, you communicate with one another. We build greater technology from sciences to health with them. I think that fosters a safer world. We continue to advocate here at the Reagan Library democracy, freedom, peace, and that's what Taiwan has.